Hello and welcome to another video from RC Empire. In today's episode we will be unboxing and taking a look at the newest addition to our collection and the first new model we've bought for a long time, the awesome Axial SMT10 Maximum Destruction. We have seen so many amazing looking trucks based on this and have wanted one of these for a long time, so I can't wait to tear this out of the box and get to using it. So it has come to us in this brown cardboard box, which if we cut open, careful not to cut the box inside, we reveal this massive box that it comes in. This is a ready to run kit, so everything inside should be ready to pull out, stick a battery in and go. If we come in a bit, the box has this really nice matte feel to it, which I really like, and it is a big old box. You can see on the front we've got this picture of the truck, and of course this is the Maximum Destruction version, which I actually think has been discontinued now, which is a real shame, but you can also get the Gravedigger version. On the front there, you can see that this is fully waterproofed, which is excellent. We picked this truck up just in time for the start of autumn, so we don't have to worry about using it in the wet grass or snow or rivers and puddles. On the side of the box, you have a few specs showing you what components are waterproofed, the receiver and transmitter that come with it, and a bit of info on the tyres, drivetrain and the body. Over on this side we have a couple of dimensions and the scale, and this is actually a 1/10 scale monster truck, unlike for example the HPI Savage X 4.6, which is around the same size but is called a 1/8 monster truck, which I think is wrong. And you also have a little list of what's required to get it running. So basically a battery and a charger, and we'll be showing you what battery we'll be using with this truck later on. Now finally, on the back here again we have a few more specs and also a bit of information on the drivetrain, motor, gears and gearbox mechanisms. So that's it for the outside of the box. Now to open it up, we've got these little tabs here on each corner, and just cut those and the truck slides out from the side. And there it is. Quickly, inside the box we have a load of bits and pieces, the transmitter, and what looks like the instruction manuals. And that's everything you get in the box. So firstly, if we take a look at the box content, you might remember on the back of the box that there were optional spikes, and they look like they all just pop into the shell. Next, we have a few packets of bits, and these all look like spares, shock pistons, and I think 2 spare heads, which is pretty cool, and I think this skeleton one is glow in the dark as well. In here we also have this little piece of clear plastic and what looks like some gearbox casings. And interestingly, a little Tamiya style tool, and also this extra 16 tooth pinion gear, which it says online is for 2S running. You also get an 11 tooth pinion, which is currently in the truck, and this is stated to be for 3S lipo running. And again here you have a couple of drive shafts and what looks like some different body mount posts. Now if we move on to the reading material, firstly, we have our transmitter manual with everything you need to know when you come to binding your receiver and setting up the transmitter. And you also have your standard owner's manual. And what's good is they've also included some gearing charts if you want to play around with that before you go and change the motor and electronics. Quickly, just to give you an idea of some of the sizes, these spikes are around 15 or 20 millimeters high. And finally, before we look at the truck, we have our brand new transmitter, and this is actually pretty cool. It seems pretty solid, it's got a nice feel to it. And as you can see, the handle length is around 120 millimeters. What's also good is that it only needs 4 AA batteries. On the front here, you have your standard 3 knobs. One is for your steering dual rate, which lets you adjust the amount of steering travel you have, and also your steering and throttle trim. And the standard wheel here with a nice amount of resistance in it. On the back, you have your reverse and power buttons, and that's it. We'll power that up later when we go to fire up the truck for the first time. And finally, onto the main attraction, the Axial SMT10. And the first thing that stands out are these big BKT branded tyres and this amazing Maximum Destruction body, which looks almost too cool to damage. Now it comes secured in this cardboard protective holder, and if we just cut off the zip ties around the axles, we can get it out and have a proper look. And what a monster. It looks like there's been a bit of an oil leak here from somewhere, maybe the shocks, or maybe it was from when it was first put in the box. But there it is, squeaky fresh. Just so you can get a little idea of the size. It's around 490 to 500 millimeters long and around 340 millimeters wide. The body is around 230 millimeters wide, and it has a height of 270 millimeters. Ground clearance is also stated as 74 millimeters. If we take a closer look at the body now, you can immediately see these bright plastic chrome parts and this skull kind of crawling out the body. And of course, this is based on the real Maximum Destruction monster truck. I'm actually surprised these spikes feel a lot more secure and strong than I thought, so they won't break off as soon as you roll it. So you have these spikes already on the body, plus you can drill holes into the rest of the body where there are pre-marked dimples, and if you want you can just pop the rest of the spikes in. Now onto the main truck. And actually, surprisingly, this is lighter than I thought, weighing in at 3.22 kilograms or 7.11 pounds. On the four corners, you have these awesome big 2.2 inch monster truck tyres. Again, replicas of the real ones. Different to the old replica ones you saw on our TXT1, as everyone runs BKT tyres now, in Monster Jam. And actually, these have a really nice feel to them. I was expecting to swap these out straight away, but actually they seem really good and feel like they can take some serious abuse. They feel stiff enough to comfortably absorb some of the big impacts and lands. On the front here, inside the engine cover, is the sealed radio box, again waterproof, and of course we've got a driver here up top mounted on this plastic plate, all a one piece mould, and I guess you can just pop the head off and change it over if you want. The frame is made of plastic. I initially thought when looking at the Gravedigger one it might have been metal, but it's definitely not. The only metal here seems to be the gears, drivetrain and shocks. Now on some of the screws there's what looks like a bit of corrosion, but I think it's just a protective layer of grease or oil. On the top we have this little paper tag attached to the power cable, and this just has a couple of warnings. Now interestingly, and it took me ages to work this out, this truck doesn't have an on and off switch, which is really very annoying. I have no idea why, and it would be much easier to have one, but to turn it on and off you'll need to plug in and unplug the battery. What's pretty good though is that it comes with threaded aluminium shocks out the box, which is useful. And they seem very smooth on the threads, and these just connect to the bottom links. So underneath you can see the linkages and drive shafts and the front and rear diffs. I'm not actually sure what weight grease is in here, but we might play around with this later on after we've done some testing. And I would love to put some super thick grease in these and almost lock the diffs. As well, you can also see this little skid plate under the gearbox. In the centre we have our 27 turn 540 size motor, which isn't going to be too fast, but there is a decent amount of torque out of these 27 turn motors. And I think that for this scale feel, this should be plenty quick enough. The whole reason I got a monster truck is that it's slow and you can bash it around anywhere and give it full throttle without needing loads of space. Whereas for example our Savage Flux, you really need to go to somewhere with a lot of space to get the most out of it. This is more like the Tamiya models, like our Wild Dagger, which aren't necessarily fast, but they are really good fun to bash around. So we'll see how long it is before I upgrade the motor. And in the middle there we have the gearbox with a dual slipper clutch inside. On the front you can see the drive linkages, and they seem pretty rigid. They're also a bit more free to pivot and move around than ones you'd find for example on the Clodbuster. And of course you can also see the axle mounted water resistance Tactic TSX45 servo, which according to the Tactic website is rated at 10.9 kilograms per centimeter and 0.17 seconds per 60 degrees at 6 volts. Now if we take a look at the actual suspension mechanism, we have a simple 4-link suspension on the rear, different to the 4-link suspension setup we saw in our TXT1 video. And the oil does seem quite light in the shocks, but then again it's not that much of a heavy model. And on the front you've just got 2 shocks going straight from the chassis to the lower linkages. Now that clicking noise is just a piece of plastic wrapping or something stuck in the wheel. Maybe it got stuck in there for the factory, but it's nothing major. So again, as a reference, if we take our ruler, the total wheel and tyre diameter is 140 millimeters. The wheel width is 80 millimeters. The shock length, fully extended, is approximately 130 millimeters from center to center of the screw point, and the length of the rear lower linkage is 140 millimeters. In terms of articulation, the total height that the front wheel can raise before the rear wheels come off the ground is around 170 millimeters, which is quite a lot. You could definitely do some great crawling with this, and we'll definitely be showing you the full capabilities of this truck in the coming running videos. And what's great is we don't need to wait till summer with good weather to see that. And that's it for this quick introduction video. I hope it's given you a little idea of what to expect with this wicked monster truck and a few specs and details to think about. In the next video, we will be showing you firstly in detail the battery tray, looking at the maximum sized battery you can fit into this, and also showing you the LiPo battery that we will be running. As well as this, we will be fitting the battery, starting it up for the first time, and going through the full binding and setup procedure for the very first time, ready to hit the jumps, so do look out for that. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed. Please let us know if you have any questions or you'd like to see anything in particular, and please rate and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.